and I'm going to show you a new piece of software, but I want to bring Naomi up because we're introducing a new series. It's kind of a partnership between IFX and the IDS department. And it's kind of a brainstorm between the two of us to begin to have greater dialogue and greater resources for you all that are teaching in the classroom and talking about maybe solutions and discussing some of the things that you may be concerned about as well. So this is our new series. It's called the Teaching Learning Technology Roundtable. Naomi?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, probably what I've heard most from faculty is that people don't have time to talk to each other. And David and I had that conversation too, wanting to get out more, wanting to talk to more faculty and having opportunities for people to share teaching challenges, share ideas together. And the TLTR idea David brought with him from previous institutions. And I thought what a great opportunity to have this collaboration between IDS and IFEX, and then just to bring emerging technologies, old teaching problems, new teaching ideas to the greater faculty community and have a chance to talk to each other.
Yeah. We want to really welcome it as a kind of an open forum conversation based, but today we're going to show a new piece of software that the college is getting. It's called H5P. Yeah, so while we're at it, let's introduce our newest instructional designer. Her name is Jessica Del Monaco. So Jessica, come on up.
I'm Jessica Del Monaco, and I am an instructional designer here at Metro.
Yeah, very good. So Jess comes to us from Long Island. I'm a Nebraska native, but I came here by way of Oregon. So I had been out in Oregon before that. Okay, well, we'll get started. One of the things that I want to do is first kind of describe how this is going to go. I'll spend about maybe 5-10 or so minutes showing you the software that we've purchased at the school, but a couple of days ago, we had a demonstration by the software vendor themselves talking more robustly about all of the features and some of the ways that this software operates. The software, again, is called H5P, and what it does is it allows you as faculty members to develop interactive learning modules, and there's a whole variety. I think they said the other day that they have over 50 various kinds of learning tools you can develop. Very easy to put something together. It doesn't take a lot of time. And the tutorials and the resources that they have are really, really generous, really good for new people to technology to be able to make, these kinds of learning interactions and make them, sort of robust. So let me share my screen. I think this one here. Here we go. So this is h5p.org, and there's two different types of H5P websites. The one website that we want you to go to is this h5p.org website. That's for you to go and see what the various different interactions are. So here are some of the examples of things that you can do. You can do interactive videos, course presentations, branching scenarios, all different kinds of things. And I'll click on these in a moment. And then once you feel like, and you can develop these learning interactives here and host them here, but they don't score to our Canvas gradebook. Once you've decided that you want to develop something that maybe is a scoreable quiz or some kind of interactivity where you want the gradebook score in Canvas to record what the students are doing in this interactive, then you need to get a hold of either IDS or the IT department, and we will give you an account and we can move the learning objects that you develop into the h5p.com website, which allows us then to integrate it into Canvas. So as an assignment, it'll score right into your gradebook. But let me give you some ideas of some of the things that they offer that are very, very useful. So one of them, kind of their hallmark product, is this interactive video. And I'll just play that, a little sample of that real quickly for you. But you can see here, that they give examples. And one of the nice things is that you can reuse or, copy these to your own h5p.org account and then begin to just develop or take apart or make changes to what they've done. So the learning curve is much shorter. So let's see, where's the audio? So you can see when you on the timeline here, as you're playing it, things pop up. So this item popped up and it's a multiple choice quiz, and it gives the user, an opportunity to give the answer. And again, these are really, really easy and simple to make. And I'll show you one here in a little bit that scores into the grade book. And then if you get it wrong, then it can takes you back. You can actually program the software to take the student or the learner back to the place where maybe the item that you're testing or asking a question about is. I'll scroll along here a little bit just so you can see. Here's another one that's a fill in the blank. I'm not going to fill these in just because I'm not sure I'll get them right. Help me out, those of you in the audience. So what goes in the first one? Strawberries. Let's try that.
Oh, blueberries. They would just be blueberries.
Blueberries. I'm getting help from my crowd. And then which one is this? It was strawberries or orange? Let's just put an orange in there. And oatmeal with to make a smoothie. Oh, we got one correct. We can retake it. Or there's a hint. There's the hint, right? So milk should have been first and then cookies. Anyhow, so you can see that this has some utility. Oops, I want to do that. There we go. So, and then down here is a little tiny dot you can see. And that's another type of interaction that it does. Serving tips. So you can actually put notation on your videos. The nice thing about this feature is you can either use your own video that you may have shot or shoot with your iPhone or your smartphone, or you can actually go out and use found YouTube or Vimeo video. So it'll work with those two services. And you can add quizzes right over, either one of those, YouTube or Vimeo videos that you found. So that's one that's useful. Another one is I'm trying to find the flashcards. We've had a couple of faculty already experiment a little bit. I think they're called dialogue cards. Yeah, so these would be the flashcards. And you can actually use a picture, you can add audio, you can add video to these, and then obviously text. And then we go on to the next ones. They have about 5 different ones here. What language is this? Phrases. Okay. Didn't work. There we go. Other useful ones, if you use a lot of charts and graphs, they have a chart and graph builder. Some of the ones that I've seen other faculty use have been crossword puzzles. So you can develop actually like a really nice interactive crossword puzzle. This would be Paris. Help me out, guys, because I'm Paris. And then Statue of Liberty is located, Jess, where is that? New York. From our New Yorker. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Taj Mahal is in, is that Delhi? No? Well, 3 down. So the Grand Canyon is Arizona. Oops. Arizona. And then this one is Athens. An S. Okay, well, we can check, show solutions. Yeah, Agra. So this gives you some kind of idea. They have fill in the blank, so you can make just regular quizzes, multiple choice, but they also have fill in the blank. They have drag the word. So you want to drag the right word with here. So these are little drag and drop things. Oops. Should go here. I just maybe didn't get it in there. Check. Didn't get any right. But I can show the solutions, right? And these are all, again, these are all very programmable by you, step by step. They're very, very easy to do. Like I said, we've already had a couple of faculty members go out and develop their own. Let me show you just real quickly how you can do some of these. So I've developed a couple of these already on my own. And I don't know how well I've done this, but you go to the edit button. And it literally just walks you step by step through this. So my title of my interactive is called Drag the Word. Wasn't very creative. I give some, description here. It allows you to add text and you can format that text a little bit. And then these were the items that I wanted to ask questions about. And here it gives you the instructions on how to format that. So the correct answer would be this, and all you do is just put an asterisk in front of it, right? So you ask the question and then the correct word shows you, and they give you an example here to copy. And then you can add point ranges and things like that if you're going to add it to Canvas and have it scored. And then there's all kinds of different behaviors so you can allow them to retry, get the instant feedback. Text overrides for translation, so you can have other words in here, things like that. You can embed this. You can actually put these as just exercises in your Canvas course. So you would set up like a Canvas page, and then you can add in, and I'm not going to show you that today, but you could add in just an interactive just for practice as well. So if you didn't want it to score, but you wanted to set up maybe build 4 or 5 of these and you wanted your students to go through and just get a little extra interactive added practice, you can actually add these from the h5p.org site without having the .com account that links to the gradebook. Let's see what I did, how we did here. So, well, it didn't randomize my choices, but you can have these randomized so that they don't always appear every time you reload right in line. I can't get my mouse to put it in the spot. There we go. And then let's drag it here. I'll mix them up a little bit. You can see, but it's oh, I got them all right. I actually turned them around. So the other thing that's worth noting is if you do make one and you want to put it into Canvas, the way that the points go into the grade book are 1 for 1. But if you wanted like to make a 10-question quiz or something, or one of these that's maybe just got 10 answers, and you wanted the students to get 100 points or something like that, or 30 points, then you define the point value on the Canvas side. So when you're making the assignment, you make the total points, whatever it is, 100 points, 30 points, whatever. And this will do the calculation, give Canvas the calculation number for the points. So I got 3 correct. If they were 10 points each, set it in Canvas, then I would have 30 points total for this assignment or for this interactive, if that makes sense. I think what I'll do at this time is we have that video. I'll show a little bit of the video here. Try to find it. Where did it go? Did I move it? Oh, here it is. So, and I'll make this full screen. So this was on Tuesday. We tried to get this, this person is in, I think he's in Ireland, but h5p.org started out of started out of Norway, I believe. And it's very popular. It's been popular. I've worked at 10 different schools, and I've had this as a tool for my faculty at over, I think it's 3, maybe 4 schools. And it really kind of came on in the last, I would say 5 years or so. But my last school was Eastern Oregon University, and I want to say that we had maybe 15 or 20 faculty out of 125 using it. So it was quite popular, both in the math and then in the sciences, because you can do math notation and things like that. So anyhow, we'll start the video. Let me pause it. Yes.
Stop sharing and reshare and make sure that it's optimized for sound.
So
The red stop share at the very top.
stop share.
And then
So screen share.
and then click that share sound.
This one,
No, see in the bottom left there, there's.
share sound. Yeah, there you go.
Optimized for video clip too, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Naomi. Those are new features. The share sound isn't new, but that other one is new. I haven't seen that one before. I'm going to advance here a little bit. We did some salutations at the beginning. So we'll just let's go right here, I think.
Yeah. And okay. So what we see now is my h5p.com account. And this account will look very similar if you're using this within another LMS that has an LTI integration. So when you go to use that tool, or depending on the language they use for that LMS, some say get stuff. And when you go and get stuff, you actually go to a tool and it's called h5p.com. And that will bring up a window which is specific for that user. For instance, if it was me, I would see my window up here. I happen to be an administrator, so I get this other little tab called Manage Organizations. As an author, you would not see that, but the Manage Organization actually gives the availability of me to take authors off, put authors on, or just archiving if you want to free up numbers of licenses and so forth, put other people on, bring them back on again. And this can be done in an ad hoc function if you would like to do that. Also, there's other functions here for administrators, which for a global type commands to set for all the different content types. It's also a place where you can actually limit the amount of content types that you would like as well. So, for instance, you might only want a certain set of content types rather than having all 50 or so content types up there. And decide that kind of from day one that this is the way you're going to do that. So I won't go too much into this, but this is where you connect the LMS system. It's about all the different roles within the organizations that you would have from the authors, super users, and administrators. It's for generalized settings, for user settings, for content type select settings. As you can see, I don't have all the content types all switched on, but I could do if I wanted that for myself. Probably I should because I'm demonstrating it all, but for you, you can actually choose what you want to use or what you want to give to your authors. Also, there is also about the archiving users, I mentioned that, and the users as well. So 2 different sections for archive, which you can bring them back from archive if you like, back into a user position. Let me go over to manage content. This is where we start to look into this. So this is a typical window what it will look like. We have my content on this side, and my content is where all my different types of content types that I've actually created. If I had somebody that's actually shared content with me, so somebody that wants me to look at a piece of content and make corrections or change to that content, I would find this in this other folder called shared with me. So I've got one piece here which is shared from Amanda to me, and I can actually go into that piece of content and make changes that I wish to it, and then Amanda will see those, and then if she's happy with that, then she can put that into a lesson plan within your LMS system.
Right, so that's kind of a strong collaboration between two users and actually develop something together, right?
Correct, yeah. And so if we go out of that just to my content, we can have a look at that, for instance. So if I go into one of my demo folders here, I'll choose drag the word, for instance. I'll go into the edit page for drag the word. And that will bring up that content type that's already been constructed and filled in. But if I go to the end of that content type, and this will be the same for all the content types, right at the end, you will find this window here, which has a couple of options from display options to publish to folders to collaborators, share of organization, LTI settings. So if we're looking at the collaborators one, for instance, here, this is where I can add in the email address or other people in the that are belonging to this and add them to be that. So I can have multiple people actually added into that piece of content, and then they'll find that content type within their shared content folder for that particular one. The other thing too I can also do is actually have my own folder set up like I have. I've got a demo folder, a test folder, and a trial folder, but they could be, different subjects, different faculties, whatever you're working on. And then with the organizational folders, this is where you can start to organize down to an organizational level for different faculties where all the materials resides, that people can actually go and choose or clone content and then make that content themselves if they would like by making simple changes to it. So you don't need to go and totally start again, which saves a lot of time in creating content pieces if you do it that way and organize it properly. The other ones we have also here is display options, and this is the actual little bar that you actually see down the bottom of the content type. For instance, I'll just go back out of here. So for this drag the words, there's this logo here, there's a reuse button and an I'm confused button down the bottom here. You have the option of actually taking those away if you would like to do that, either by taking the whole toolbar away, for instance, or just taking parts of that toolbar away, like this confusion indicator or the copyright button, that sort of information. So this is usable settings for each content type that you would want to do this on there. Sometimes you need to have the copyright information. Maybe you're taking pictures from a different source. You need to give credit to the person or organization that photos come from. So you can do that within the content type and display the information for people to see that information. The other one too is your publish as well. Now, this really depends on how you're going to operate as an institution. So for instance, that you want to operate just within your LMS system, then you would mainly have this in this protected status. So the content is only available within your LMS system to be inserted into a lesson plan, for instance. If you were working outside of that, or you needed maybe some content to be published elsewhere, maybe on a website or something external, you can do that. Maybe they're just examples you want to give of students of your learning program, for instance. But you can do that by saying this to public for that particular content type only. So this one, this drag the words one, I now have a link which gives me direct access to that content type. Or if I wanted to use the embed code, I could take this iframe script and just copy this, and then I could place that within a website somewhere for access to that content type. Now, the differences between this public and protected is the protected will always have a link to your grade book. So if you choose to have that particular assessment or content type graded, which you can choose from in that content type, whether it takes the best or the last or the first score or no score at all, and then it becomes just a self-test, and you can decide that within the protected view. In the public one, you don't have that availability of actually having an option to say, well, I want grades from that as well. And the reason for that is that we have no linking to whoever's coming to that website. So we don't know who the user is. In a sense of the protected, we do, in a sense, because the LMS hands us a identifier for that student. We don't know the student, so we just get I think a number, and we say, well, that number got 50%. And it goes back to the LMS, and the LMS goes, oh, okay, that was Johnny who got 50%. So we put that into his grade book.
So let me pause you just for a second. I have a question. So we have several people we've kind of announced that we're rolling this software out at our school. We have several people that are developing items on h5p.org, the h5p.org site. Is there a way for them to move their content from, that site into the h5p.com website?
There is a way of doing that. I won't say it's 100% that it will happen, because there are differences between the .org and the .com content, and some of the content's not approved to be on .com, and that could be due to it maybe was an outside developer that has actually developed that content type, and it hasn't gone through all the kind of security screenings and so forth to be on .com. And also it mightn't come up to the kind of accessibility standards that we have as well. So it mightn't have been designed and developed that way. So we don't have it on there, because a lot of the institutions require that, if not all, but most of the content has this accessibility, things with it, so they can actually use it for students that might be, have a text-to-speech reader or so forth, or that sort of thing on there. So you just have to check. But I can show you how that works, because it's very similar between all this. So if we roll back to, for here instance, to this content type that we have here, and this is what they'll typically see on the .org as well, you'll see this reuse button.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one where you need to click and say, well, I want to download that as a file. And what happens is I download that. It comes down here as the drag the word file, which just happens to be in my download folder. It could be somewhere else depending on where you direct that to. And when I want to bring that back into the .com version, it's as simple as going out of this and going back to the kind of start page and the add content button.
I see. Yeah, what we're doing is we're kind of encouraging our faculty, because this is new software for us. We've bought a limited number of licenses, and we're encouraging our faculty to try the things out on the .org site. And I've already had a couple of faculty develop, little things like flashcards and things like that. And they may want to develop more, or, develop items that are scorable within our element.
Yeah, so this is, it's a great method of importing content, even if it's not from .org, but examples that you might see elsewhere that you might want to use. And then you can just bring it into this upload, go and find the folder, which there it is up the top there, open it, and then use it. And then this is where you'll see, well, okay, that one worked. If you don't see that and you get an error, then you'll know that it's one of those files that won't go in there because of those reasons that we don't accept it for coming in there. Now, the other thing you can do also while we're here to get quickly started is that use these tutorials and use these examples. It's the same type of method. If I want to know how drag the word works, then I can simply just go in here and it will come through, it will give an example, and then it will give me a step-by-step type of process of how to use that information I need to fill in, an example that you might want to experiment with. So it's a great kind of helping hand to get started. And then if I kind of like that example, I can just do the same thing. I can say, well, I want to reuse that and download that and then bring it back in again. And then it becomes my file. And then I can actually go into that folder or file and I just need to save that. So if I just save that off, and then now here it is already up there. Now I can go into the edit side of it and start to look at, okay, it's how it's constructed. I can see that they've put asterisks around the words that will be dragged back in and be mixed up at the end. So I can just go through there and change things on the run and just save it off and look at it, how it looks, and learn by that method, which is a nice way of kind of learning.
Yeah, that's one of the big advantages that I see for this is you've got a lot of worked examples, that people can just modify the content. And then, since we're buying that license to connect with our LMS, then these things can be scorable. So that's great.
Exactly, that's right. The other site you can go to, which is the .org site, which has most of these examples on there, is this, I've got this one here. It's the content types. You might have seen it before. content types. Yep, that one there. So this is off the .org
Right.
content site, but it goes through most of these. And just be warned again, some of these won't be operational because of those reasons, but most of them you see here, like fill the blanks, go into an example. Again, I can download that and reuse that content and come back in again. For some of them, be wary of, which is the branching scenarios. This particular one, which is probably, it's one of my favorite actually, because it's probably the most involved one. It's actually not downloadable because it does come from another institution which didn't allow to share it. But anyway, it's a great example of what you can actually do with branching scenarios or simulated type of games and so forth that you can build into your course practice.
Yeah, and I was sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Speak to a little bit how long you've been around, how long the software's been here.
Yeah, well, the history of H5P goes back to 2013. And that's when they came up with this kind of open source type version, which is still around today. And some people have used that. There's a WordPress version out there. There's some versions that you can develop. So if you're really into the dev type work, you can design this yourself if you want to, but it's limited, I guess, to the content types. And H5P.com has a lot more different kind of interactive content types that are not available on the .org side of the business. But it was about in 2018 that .com kind of got it starting. And I guess that was from the owners, or the owner that's still there now, our CEO, who decided, well, I guess I need to make some money rather than it be just free and having a community. But he still today wants to have that kind of open and kind of free community type access, which is, there is a lot of people that use it that way. Yes, it does have its differences between the .com. .com is a fully fledged SaaS-based service, which is redundant and scalable and all that sort of thing you would expect, because we don't want to have institutions that are having that little circle whirl around because they just can't get to the content that's there. So one reason for going for .com. And then from 2018, it's been kind of a steady climb. At first, at the moment, we're a company of about 22 people. We're based in Tromsø, which is north of Norway. I'm in Oslo, so I'm a little bit further down. But the majority of people up there, we have a smaller office here as well. So a little bit about the company.
Yeah, excellent. Chuck, did you have any questions, or Naomi or Jessica?
Well, so I had a question about some of the user management for managing the organization. So for instance, for encouraging faculty to build an H5P content item that we embed in their Canvas course, which may be sort of the source course that other faculty will use when they teach other sections down the road of the same course. So the original author, they authored the thing, in H5P, but then it becomes kind of a fundamental content item of the course that other faculty are teaching. So if the original author leaves the college, content that they authored is still important to us. So, but we obviously don't want to maintain a user license for the person that's not here anymore. So can you talk a little bit about how we might navigate that in terms of kind of, if one person makes it, but we still want to keep it alive and pass it on to another person?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of a two-stage process. As you're looking at now, these are all the users which are taking up licenses, I guess, that you might have in a limited capacity. So, for instance, if one of these does decide that, they're leaving, or maybe they're leaving for 6 months' time, maybe they're coming back later, and you don't want to kind of totally delete them out the system, you can actually come over to here where this delete, well, it does say delete. I wish they would rename this, because it actually takes them into the archive section of the system. So I won't do that, but it will take them into this archived users. So it's kind of a two-step delete. So if you do this first one, you know, they're not gone forever. So, which is good, because sometimes people might do that and think, well, where they're gone. So they end up in this archived user. Well, while they're in here, the content is still available. It's still being used. If they're shared into folders or organizational folders, it's there to be cloned, to be reused elsewhere. So it's no problem. These free entities here are archived, not taking up licenses. So they're off the system. They don't have access to the system anymore, but they can be put back on or restored back in if you have a license that's freed up again. Or you can go here and say, okay, they're gone forever. And when you go to delete that, it will actually say you're going to permanently delete it, but you want to assign this content to yourself, being me, or you want to assign it to another user. So you have to make that choice, whether you want this to permanently delete all their content or assign before you actually delete them off the system. So it's a little bit of a stopgap measure. So you don't hit the wrong button and then suddenly, you know, your content's gone from the system. So that's up to the administrator to actually perform those functions.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. So yeah, we don't have to worry about losing content if we lose the person.
No.
And we can either archive it, which will keep it alive. So if one instructor makes the thing, they embed it in their course, then they copy that course over for another user. Does that invalidate the embed code? Like, does each instance of the course need to get a fresh embed code from H5P?
It will be a fresh embed or iframe script, or if you're placing within the course, of course, it's just a direct link, but it will be a unique link because of how it's connected within the LMS system to that actual group, I guess, or lesson plan that you're actually placing that, so the students are all in the same one. So kind of makes sense to keep it all together in a way. So you would, if you did have, say, a subject that was exactly the same sort of course, then you would either do that via the LMS to have the students accessing that one course, or you would say, well, we're going to divide this up because we have different locations, for instance, or something like that. Then we just clone that material and use it within a different kind of lesson plan for them. And then it would have a different linking strategy behind it.
Okay, yeah, that's something I think we all need to take note of. So, you know, if Deanna made her flashcard, she embedded it in her master course, she copies that course, the Canvas copy, from one quarter to the next, she probably needs to know that all those pages that have H5P content embedded on them, she needs to go and selectively replace that embed code with a fresh copy for each instance of the course, if I'm hearing you right.
That's correct. Just remember when you got a lesson plan and you're inserting content, once you insert that content in the lesson plan, it will stay that way until you delete that lesson plan, I guess. If you say, well, I'm going to make another one because of it's another group or a different teacher, or maybe it's a different subject using the same kind of base as you would, then when they go to insert that content type that's been used before, it will get a different link into that.
Okay, so if we're just using the Canvas course copy feature to copy a course that has H5P content in it, and so then the new batch of students for a different section of the course hits that page with the H5P content. Let's say it is intended to be graded and it's tied to the gradebook. Is that just not going to work? Is it not going to tie to the new gradebook, or is it going to tie to the old gradebook? Or is it just going to be a broken link?
No, so you're using the copy command within Canvas,
right?
Which is different to using the insert function of that from H5P. If you use the insert function, then yes, it will be a different link. If you use the copy function, then it will copy that directly and it will be the same across the board. That's two different
Okay.
ways of actually inserting content.
Right. I mean, that's going to be, the common practice for our faculty is
Okay.
just use the Canvas feature, because it's not all H5P content, obviously. So,
No, and when you do
so-
copy that across in a different lesson plan, then obviously you have different students enrolled into that part of it. So the data is still going to go into their grade books for that lesson plan.
So it'll still work relative
Yep.
to the course that it's been copied into.
Yep.
Okay, maybe that's not as big a problem as I thought it might be.
I don't think so. No. Cool. Any?
I have a question. Can the content with the public permission level be embedded into, say, like a OER platform like LibreText or Pressbooks?
As long as it takes iframe script, complies to HTML5 standard, it will work in there. Again, the only thing you're not going to get is the linking back to see what students are doing or getting grades out. It'll become more of a kind of a self-test for them. But you can place that anywhere you would like, either as a direct HTML link or as an iframe script, which you would send into a website. So yeah, that's available. The only things I would note on top of that, it just depends on your IT department and their security protocols about having access and things like that. It's a little bit different. And the other thing too also, and I'll just say this because sometimes institutions do have their own development team, maybe, but you can, all the content types and all the information that is, say a student is accessing a particular content type, it will actually send out this X API statements for all of that content as well. So if you have like an LRS that can grab this sort of information or list the middleware between that to actually be able to take that information, you can get a lot more information about the student itself. It's very much like the drill down reporting that we have on top of that gradebook, which is an optional extra in the per author accounts. But you can get information about when the student starts, when they finish, how long it took them to do that particular piece of content. It actually tells you what they got wrong and right within that piece of content type as well. So if you're into having a lot more data and being able to sort through that data to analyze, then you can either use that through that X API statement, or you can use that with the drill down reporting, which is an optional extra for the per author account. In the enterprise account, you get that kind of included all in the one thing.
So Tracy, I know we're kind of short on time here, but one last question. So we have a limited number of licenses. I think we purchased initially 3 licenses, but as you've described it, our faculty can work in the h5p.org, try to, kind of try some things out maybe. But then if they develop something, folks from our staff can help them, or they can do it on their own, move the content over. But with that limited number of licenses, if we've got a person that's, maybe developed 3 or 4 things, and we know that they're probably not going to develop very many more, we can just sort of put them in that hibernation mode. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
And then bring that new author in, right?
Yeah.
And use that.
Yeah, you can do that. It's up to you. You can do that every day or every hour if you want. So it's there's no limit to what you can move people on and off and still have the content there. So
right. So that limit of 3, it's kind of a small purchase for us. We're just trying this out, but that allows us to kind of regulate and move other people, around with just 3 licenses. That sounds appealing.
Yep. No, that's okay. Just remember that when you do assign the administrator, they should be also an author, because it does take up a license. So you don't want that just to be somebody that's doing the manual work behind and not creating anything, particularly in a free author license, because that's a third of your content creation gone. So
Right.
yeah, so I would at least have somebody that's going to be the nominated administrator to do all that type of work in the background of moving people on and off while they're creating content as well.
Sure. All right. Well, any other questions? Jessica, did you have any questions, or Naomi have any more questions? Yeah, we really appreciate the time that you spent with us today. We're going to present this to our faculty later in the week. So, yeah, send me the recording link and
I will do.
have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time and effort being here. And if you need some more things like this in the future, then just give me a call.
So I think I'll stop it there, but that gives you an idea. We wanted to kind of give you a little bit of the background of how this is administered and how you can work between the .org H5P and the .com H5P different sites. So I would strongly encourage you to just go check it out and try a few of these out and get working with it. If you've got questions about how to do maybe more complex interactives or some of those things, or you just stumble, give Jessica or myself or IDS a ring or send us an email, and we'd be more than happy to help you co-develop it and talk with you about possible uses for it in your courses as learning interactives for students. So I think that's kind of about it. We don't have much of a crowd here. Would there be any questions from the crowd? Right, so
I didn't quite get still. It seemed at the end that it settled on, yes, it's fine, but when we copy Canvas pages or export Canvas pages, that's gonna, content will be there and usable.
yes, yeah, that was a little confusing, I think, for Chuck. But my experience, having worked at other schools, if you develop something and it's embedded in your Canvas course, just go ahead and copy that course with the assurance that your H5P is going to work. You're not going to have to update that address. You're not going to have to make any changes. It'll just continue to score to the new course's gradebook. So wherever it's populated, it's just quizzing those students in that course.
And even when we copy source courses then too, to a different
Right.
user, that should still say the same.
Right, yeah, so if you're copying, right, as Naomi says, source courses, the same thing. It'll only affect the students that are enrolled in your course in that section of Canvas, and it'll all score to the gradebook. Yeah, it gets a little tedious sometimes in there, but like I said, I've used this at other institutions and we've never had a problem with copying it forward. I think there was just a little bit of maybe some misunderstanding there on our platform and what Chuck was asking, so. Other questions? Okay, well, thanks everybody. If you've watched to this point, we're really excited about this new series, this Teaching, Learning, Technology Roundtable. Watch for more emails coming from Naomi on the schedule and what the calendar of events are. The idea is that they'll run approximately every couple of weeks through the school year. And we hope to get more engagement and more involvement from you all. This one was a little bit kind of our first stab, and we had a kind of a recorded message for you, but let's as a campus community try to come together and